What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the Neighborhood Podcast. I'm one of the hosts of the podcast. My name is Kyle Dabro. In today's segment, we're going to go over one of the Thanksgiving Day games that's going to feature the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. Just to give you guys a quick recap of where both teams stand, the Dallas Cowboys are coming off one of the biggest victories that you'll probably see the entire season. They beat the Vikings on the road, winning by the score of 40-3. It was the largest road win that the Cowboys have ever had in their team history, and they look to continue that type of success going into Thanksgiving. When it comes to the Giants are coming off of a pretty tough home loss to the Detroit Lions, losing that game by the score of 31-18. So they're looking to bounce back on the road when they play the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. So Kevin, to kick this one to you, we got the Cowboys and the Giants facing off on Thanksgiving. Who do you think is going to come out on top and why?
I will preview this by saying I am a native New Yorker and I am also a Dallas hater, but I got to go with Dallas by a lot. The Giants were riddled with injuries this past Sunday. They lost 6 players. 4 of them have already been ruled out. Wendell Robinson is out for the year, and 2 of their starting cornerbacks potentially may not even be able to play. Xavier McKinney's already on IR with a broken hand, and I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. Unless Kenny Golladay is going to become the Kenny Golladay of old in Detroit, where he can go up and get you 150 yards and a couple of touchdowns, I don't necessarily see this as a possibility. Dallas is going to stack the box, pressure the quarterback, and Daniel Jones is probably going to turn the ball over 2 to 3 times. I have absolutely no faith that that New York is going to be able to turn this around in short week's rest on a big holiday against a division opponent that is coming off of one of the biggest victories in franchise history. And I think Dallas is also home. So how are you going to combat home crowd, injuries, and just lack of offensive production over the last couple of weeks? I don't necessarily know how the Giants are going to do anything productive offensively without without anybody. I mean, they already have a weakened receiving core. They already have injuries up front. Their defense, like I just listed, has so many people hurt, especially Adoree Jackson. And then you go and you look at, Jason Pinnock. He may not even play. So it's like, what are the Giants supposed to do? Like, how are they supposed to combat these? It's all about next man up in the sport and in all sports for that matter. But it's like, these are hard players to replace. And they were thin at certain positions as it was. So I have no faith. It's unfortunate. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say that it is for sure they're going to lose, but I would have to go and say that I'm 90% confident that New York has absolutely zero chance because Dallas is hot, Dallas is healthy, and I mean, I'm not trying to add an insult to injury here. Shout out to my boy Santino. He is an Odell Beckham fan. He is an Odell Beckham super fan. Got multiple forms of memorabilia signed by him, met him a couple times. Like, I think Odell potentially makes his decision this week. Now, I don't know if he's going to sign before Thanksgiving because that is a holiday. I don't know if he's going to want to commit himself to going into the building, practice. But Jerry Jones did make a comment before yesterday's game that he was visiting Dallas this week. So I would assume if he goes into the building, he comes out of there with a contract. Honestly, in my personal opinion, Kyle and I had already made our predictions on where we think he will go, which is Dallas. But I think that will also just add insult to injury to this particular game with the setting of, damn, we're hurt. Damn, this is a division game and we can't do anything about it. Damn, Odell just, you know what I'm saying? Like, just a couple different things. But I got Dallas winning this game by like 10, 13 points. I'm not going to say it's a blowout because every single time I pick Dallas, for whatever reason, they go and they choke. They don't just choke, they shit the bed. They look completely inept. The offense, the defense, everybody just looks fucked up. So once again, I will say Dallas, but I will say that this is going to be a closer game than I am even hoping for. And I will say that Dallas wins by 10, 13 points. Hopefully the Giants can make it competitive. Hopefully their defense can get to Dak, but we will see what happens. Tony Pollard's on a tear, so hopefully he continues to carve it up for Kyle in fantasy. But other than that, Dallas is going to win a Thanksgiving game, and they'll move on to 8-3 in the division.
Kev, I'm going to make this pretty brief. I got Dallas by a mile on this one, bro. This shit's a wrap. I got them probably winning by 2 or 3 touchdowns in this game. And I know that's a little bit disrespectful to the Giants just because the Giants actually have a relatively solid defense. But I don't know how I could think otherwise after what Dallas just did to Minnesota. I mean, they massacred the Vikings. There's no other way to describe it. And when you win a game by 37 points in one of the biggest wins, like you said, Kev, in franchise history, I think that's all the momentum in the world that they need. Granted, they are playing on 3 days rest, but I think when they hit the field on Thanksgiving, I think they're basically just going to carry that momentum that they had from that Sunday game against the Vikings, and I think they're going to put up a similar type of performance. I don't know if they're going to have the defensive performance that they had against the Vikings when they play against the Giants, but it could be something similar just because, to be honest, Kev, I don't have a lot of faith in Daniel Jones and that offense. Losing Wan'Dale Robinson for the year with a torn ACL, that really is going to hurt them. If they're going to have any sort of hope, they hope that Saquon might be able to have a solid game against Dallas's defense, but I just don't really see it here. This Giants offense is pretty anemic to begin with already. They're really relying on their defense to really step up to really, like, they're going to have to step up to like a next world type of level here just because where that Cowboys offense is right now, they are running and gunning. Tony Pollard looks like one of the best running backs in the league as far as total production goes because he's been absolutely killing it the last couple of weeks. Ezekiel Elliott has been getting solid touches here and there. Granted, that game against the Vikings was his first game back in a couple of games, so it was nice to kind of see him come back into the fold. And Dak Prescott, if he's not turning the ball over, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. And we got decent targets to throw to, like CeeDee Lamb, you got Michael Gallup, you have Dalton Schultz, and then hell, you're throwing to Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard out of the backfield. That's just too many weapons for the Giants to contend with as far as I'm concerned. And with the game taking place in Dallas, I think the Cowboys roll in this one. I see them putting up at least 30 points in this one, and that's despite the fact that they're playing on just a couple of days rest. I think the Cowboys are just on a roll right now, and outside of that Packers debacle that they had in Lambeau a couple of weeks back, the Cowboys are legitimately one of the best teams in the NFC as far as I see it. So just to kind of wrap this up, I got the Cowboys winning this one by the score of 34 to, let's say, 17. I think that it's going to be a 17-point margin of victory for the Cowboys. Like you said, Kev, the Cowboys would bump up to 8-3 if that were to take place on Thanksgiving. And I don't really see any other way that this game is going to go down in the way that I've outlined it. I think the Cowboys roll in this one, and it's not even going to be close.